Sam had taken dozens of flights in his life, but nothing could have prepared him for what he saw out of that tiny plane window. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video. At first, he thought it was a reflection, a trick of the light, just to the sun playing games against the glass. But when the figure on the wing shifted, visibly moving against the rush of wind and sky, his breath caught in his throat. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't turbulence. There was someone on the wing. He blinked hard, but the figure remained, clinging to the metal surface as the plane cut through the sky at hundreds of miles per hour. Sam's stomach dropped. Around him, passengers had started to notice too. Gasps echoed through the cabin as people crowded to the windows, their faces a blur of disbelief and terror. The man on the wing wore something over his face, a mask of some kind, though the high-altitude winds distorted its features, stretching and bending it in unnatural ways. Sam fumbled for his seatbelt, securing it tightly as the plane shuddered. The seatbelt sign pinged on, and a voice crackled over the intercom. "We're experiencing a bit of turbulence. Please remain calm and return to your seats." The voice was calm, reassuring, too calm. Sam glanced at the cockpit door. The pilot had seen this too. He must have. Why wasn't anyone saying what they were all seeing? And then the plane dipped. Sam pressed his forehead to the glass. Below them was no runway, only ocean. Endless blue, stretching to the horizon. A few seconds ago, they were flying above clouds. Now, they were descending. Fast. The figure was gone. Sam squinted, eyes scanning the wing. Nothing. No sign of the man. His pulse quickened. Had he fallen? Jumped? Then a flicker of movement, a hand or something like it, surfaced briefly beneath the wing, then vanished again into the foamy waters below. Passengers screamed. Someone yelled something about a hijacker. A child began to cry. Still, the pilot said nothing. Only the droning hum of the engines and the wind outside answered their growing panic. Then land appeared. Not a city skyline, not the suburbs of Washington, D.C. like Sam had expected, but an island. A small, unmarked landmass with a single landing strip carved into its center. The plane descended quickly and landed without a jolt. Too smooth, too deliberate. The aircraft coasted to a stop near a large metal hangar. Around it, unfamiliar personnel moved quickly. Workers in gray uniforms with no visible logos, no country insignia. The pilot's voice came over the intercom again. "Ladies and gentlemen, we need to handle a quick procedural matter. Please remain seated." But no one stayed seated. Fear turned to confusion, and confusion turned to frustration. Voices rose, demanding answers. Why had they landed here? Where was here? Sam pressed against his window. Outside, he could see them, uniformed figures moving quickly with equipment. It didn't feel like a routine stop. And that gut feeling grew stronger when the plane began to taxi again, this time toward the gaping mouth of the hangar. The engines shut down. Silence. Then a sharp clatter came from below. The baggage hold. Sam's instincts kicked in. While most of the passengers remained locked in debate or worry, he saw an opening and quietly slipped forward through the aisle. The flight attendants were distracted. No one stopped him. He reached the cockpit and paused. Inside, the pilots were talking in hushed voices. "We're going to lose our jobs," one of them said, his voice tight with panic. "They have to find him," the other replied. Sam's heart thudded. They were talking about the man on the wing. He leaned in closer, but was quickly tapped on the shoulder by a flight attendant. Her face was hard. "Sir, please return to your seat. Now." He nodded and turned away, mind reeling from what he had overheard. Back in the cabin, tension crackled in the air. Then came the scream. It pierced through the aircraft like a lightning strike. Everyone turned as a passenger at the back of the plane pointed out the window, shrieking. Sam rushed over, pushing past bodies and baggage, and there he was. The man was back, climbing onto the wing. But now officers on the tarmac had their weapons drawn. They shouted commands. The figure didn't respond. What followed was pure chaos. Gunfire cracked, echoing off the metal walls of the hangar. Passengers ducked and screamed. The man dropped to his knees, hands raised. Seconds later, he was surrounded, restrained and led away in handcuffs. Who was he? Why had he done it? The passengers clapped, some out of relief, others to break the tension. The fear was still there, but now it came with a sense of finality, like the curtain had just closed on a nightmare. But Sam wasn't so sure. The applause died down, replaced by a thick silence as the man was escorted across the tarmac toward a dark vehicle. His head was lowered, his hands shackled, and a dozen questions burned behind every pair of eyes watching from the plane windows. Sam sat frozen, trying to process what he had just witnessed. Nothing about the situation made sense, least of all how the man had gotten onto the wing mid-flight. After a few tense minutes, the cabin doors were finally opened. Passengers were instructed to exit through the emergency exits, and one by one, they stepped down onto the hot tarmac. A shuttle bus was waiting nearby, its windows tinted, its engine humming impatiently. As Sam boarded the bus, he caught one final glimpse of the mysterious man. Now surrounded by men in tactical gear who didn't look like regular law enforcement. Inside the shuttle, the atmosphere was eerily quiet. No one spoke. Phones were out, fingers tapping rapidly as passengers tried to contact loved ones or post their stories online. But there was no signal, no connection, just the sound of the wheels on cracked pavement as the bus rolled toward a modest airport building up ahead. Once inside, an announcement crackled through the old speakers. Due to an unforeseen incident, all passengers will be offered two options: return home on a chartered flight or continue to Washington, D.C. aboard a different aircraft later this evening. The offer seemed fair, but Sam could feel the suspicion in the air. People didn't trust anything now, not the airline, not the staff, not even the destination. Some passengers stormed out demanding answers. Others slumped in seats, exhausted by fear and confusion. Sam, driven by both curiosity and a sense of unease, approached a woman behind the information desk and asked quietly, "Who was that man? The one on the wing?" Her expression hardened, then softened. She leaned in. "He was a refugee," she whispered. "Tried to stow away in the baggage hold. We don't know how he got out, or how he ended up on the wing." Sam was stunned. A refugee! The desperation that must have driven someone to attempt something so perilous hit him like a wave. He had assumed, like many others on the flight, that the man was dangerous. But now, that assumption felt shameful. He wasn't a terrorist. He was just a man chasing hope the only way he knew how. Back in the waiting area, Sam sat quietly, reflecting on everything. He pulled out his phone to check messages. His inbox was overflowing. Missed calls, texts, urgent emails from his manager asking for updates. The Washington conference had come and gone. He had missed his keynote speech. His career, or at least his reputation, might have taken a serious blow. Sam sighed and began typing out a long message, detailing the surreal series of events. But even as he wrote, he knew how far-fetched it all sounded. He attached a short clip he had taken from the plane, the figure crawling on the wing, the moment the police swarmed. Him! And hit send. A few minutes later, his phone rang. His manager had seen the news. The bizarre incident had gone viral. Social media was ablaze with eyewitness videos, speculation, and news coverage. In a strange twist of fate, Sam's absence had become part of a global story. His manager's tone shifted from frustration to understanding. "Let's talk when you're home," he said. "Get some rest." Sam leaned back in his chair. Relief washed over him. Later that evening, as he boarded the replacement flight home, the experience still clung to him like a second skin. Every creak of the plane, every shift in the wind reminded him of the man on the wing and the silence of the pilot.